Hi everyone, David here from daviddumaisaudio.com, and in this video I'll be going over all of the gun sound design that I created for this game project that I'm working on. So let's just kind of head into Cubase here. So this game is actually a project I'm working on for an FMOD integration course that I'm taking, and so we have to kind of design all the sound effects and everything for the game, and then we implement them through FMOD into the game. But anyways, for this video specifically, I just wanted to go through all the weapon sounds that I created, kind of deconstruct them, so show you guys how I created them, what I used, and stuff like that. So if that interests you guys, stick around. And so there's actually 7 weapons that I created for this game: a minigun, which is a machine gun, a shotgun, a rocket launcher, a grenade launcher, pistol, and a rifle. And so we'll go through those one at a time. I won't touch on the chainsaw unless you guys want to. Just let me know in the description, or sorry, in the comments, and just let me know if you guys are interested in to see how I created the chainsaw weapon sound for this game. But if not, I'm not going to go over it in this video. So why don't we just start at the beginning here with the minigun. So for some reason, my video is not synced up to the audio anymore. I don't know why. But anyways, let's have a listen to what it sounds like. Yeah, it's kind of annoying that it doesn't line up anymore. I don't even know why. Anyways, you get an idea of what it sounds like here. So this is the sound again. It sounds a bit distorted. I don't know why. Must have something on here. Nope, don't have anything on, so I'm not sure why it's being distorted. It might just be my audio card or something. Anyways, so this is the sound. There's a few different layers, so why don't we have a listen to them one at a time and see what I used. So to start off this sound, I think I used this one. I used this layer. So this is just Weaponizer by Krotos Audio. And this is how I started off creating this gun sound. So I basically just brought this into my computer. And I think I started from scratch. I might have used, I think I started from scratch. I just searched up for different gun sounds. So as you can see here for the main body here. So let's solo that. So the body stays the same. So here, why don't I go through each of these one at a time? So what this is, for the onset, I have 3 layers. So this is the first layer, which is just a burst shot from 5 meters away that is recorded. So this comes with the plugin here, with the library. That's what this is. I randomized the pitch a little, as you can see up here. So I added some variation to the speed of the playback, so it sounds a little bit different every time you hear it. Like just enough to keep your interest and make it sound different. So that's what that is. And then this next layer here is what is this? Burst. Yeah, so another shot that I found. Let's see what that sounds like. And here I'm randomizing now the playback speed, so it's going to affect the pitch, and also the level, which is the volume. So it's going to affect the pitch and the volume. So I'm getting more variation there. So together it sounds like this. And finally, the last layer here. This adds kind of the character to that sound, and these are glass impacts. So, and I imported 3 of them in here, and what it's doing is it's rotating through the 3 of them, and so you always get a different sample. And then as you can see here, I'm randomizing the playback speed, so it's going to affect the pitch. So all 3 of those together now, if I just solo that. Right, so you can hear that these 2 are really providing like it's in your face. The audio is really sounding like in your face. And then this glass one, it really sounds like it's a bit more distance. It's really minor. It's almost hard to hear, but it's there, and it really adds that kind of extra character to the sound. So that's what that is here. So for the next layer here, the body, kind of the thud, I guess, or the body of the sound. So I have, let's see, just one here. This is a bullet impact, and I have a wood hit. And again, you can see I randomized the speed and the volume. So this is really bassy. And then if I go here, This is the wood. And this is really what you hear. So together now. Like that. And then with the onset. So you start to get really that feel for the, I guess, a mechanical gun or something firing like that. So that's good. Let's see what I did for the thump here if I have, yeah. So it's almost like the body is just a bit lower pitch. So let's see what we have here. So I just have 2 layers again. So for this first one, earth impact. So let's see what that sounds like. Again, randomize the pitch a bit. So it's a bit different every time I hit it. And this one, again, another earth impact. So just playing both of them together. And then all together, it's like this. And you can see here I muted the tail. I didn't want any tail in the sound, so I just muted that so it wouldn't play. And you can also see up here that I randomized the start time for each of the parts. So the onset hits first, and then it's the body, and then soon after is the thump. So you get the onset, then the body, then the thump playing. And it just makes it more of a transient kind of sound. It just adds to the transients and punch of the sound. So that's what that's doing there. And that's it for this layer. So this is the first layer, and it's basically the main body of the sound. So you get that. And then for the next part here, are this sound. And for this, the idea that I had was basically just to have some sort of metal sound or ting sound, because we're looking at a machine gun. So I just wanted something metallic whenever the gun fired. So this, I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is just like I just dropped like some nails or some screws or something like that together, like hitting each other. And this is all I just recorded that myself. And I don't think I did much processing on here. And I just imported it like that. So together we have this now, which is okay. It's pretty good. And then finally, these are our last sounds. Let's hear what they are. So this is my distortion layer. Maybe a little too much distortion on there, but it's really to add, I guess, the feel of a gun being fired, and like you're really holding on to something heavy here. So, and honestly, I don't even remember how I created this. I really don't. Yeah, that's too bad. I actually have no idea how I created this. I must have had some sort of like explosion sound. Actually, you know what I probably did for this one is what I like to do, which is why I'm thinking I probably did this, is I probably went into S layer up here, have an explosion like preset that I like to import, and it's just a bunch of like gunfires and like explosion sounds. So I import this into here, and as you can see, like I have like trash, which is a distortion by Isotope here. So I probably added like a bunch of distortion, and that's basically what I used for that layer. So I think I just added some sort of explosion, made it really short so it wouldn't, you know, have a long tail. As you can see here, I cut it like pretty darn short. So if I like pull this way back out, this is the sound I had. Right? And then I just made it really short so that it would be like a gunfire. And then, yeah, so I just added a bunch of distortion to those explosion sounds, and that's what this layer is. So now, if we play everything together, right, these layers are a bit too present, maybe. Yeah, they're a bit much. I could probably like reduce the volume of these. Let's see. Anyways, I could play around with that a bit, but I'll leave it like that for now. And yeah, this is basically the sound that I came up with. What I did, you don't see it here because I imported them into FMOD, but like in FMOD, I also added for this group. I don't know if I have a group for this one. I don't think I have a group for this one on Cubase here. But what I did for all these sounds, I routed them all to one bus, and then I also I boosted up the bass a bit so that I would have a bit more bass presence around 100 hertz, just to add that extra kick and feel like the gun's a bit heavier than it is. So, anyways, that's the sound right there. So that is my minigun. All right, let's move on now to the shotgun. So this is the shotgun. Yeah, it's really annoying that the video doesn't line up. anyways, that's the shotgun. It's not the final sound I came up with in the game because I did make a few tweaks, but let's go over like kind of the basic, the core of what I did have here. So let's start with the first layer here. This is my reload layer, and this one is probably a bit, probably the laziest on this layer, because all it is I came into Weaponizer here, and they have a bunch of like reload sounds. So if you just use the search up here, I just search for like reload or something, or foley. I don't remember exactly what I searched. Anyways, there's this reload sound here, foley number 1. Anyways, this is a reload sound. So if I click it, it's just a reload sound, and then of course I randomized the speed here so that it would affect the pitch, so it wouldn't have the exact same sound every single time that it's playing. All right, so that's it right there. I really didn't touch much with this one. I see here I added some de-reverb. I probably had too much reverb for my liking in here. Maybe let's hear. No, I don't even know why that's there. Yeah, it really doesn't even need to be there. Must have been an accident. All right, let's go on to the next section here. So this is my distortion sound, probably the main body of the sound of the gunshot. So the way I created this is similar to my the mini shotgun that I created before, which is just I imported a bunch of files again into S-Layer. A bunch of explosion sounds, try to find something I liked, added a bunch of distortion, and yeah. And you can also see here I added recenter here to make sure the sound was right in the center of the screen, right in the center of the audio field. So if I turn it off, let's see what this sounds like. So you can see it sounds really wide. So if you're playing a game and you have a shotgun like that, it's kind of strange to have a really wide sound. You really want to have it focused kind of where the player is. And if you look at the gameplay here, like the gun is like right in front of you. It's like it's not out of the side, so right in front of you. So the sound, or the source of the sound, should really be at the center. So that's why I put this in here like that. So if you listen to it before and after, right, it really sounds like right in the center, right where it's supposed to be. So all I did for this one is I just narrowed up the bands here and added the multi-band, so it becomes a multi-band stereo imager or mono. It basically brings the sound into a mono, but not completely. It just does it. I don't even know how to explain it. Anyways, I did a whole video kind of reviewing this plugin. Right now I'm kind of blanking out. Anyways, it's basically making the sound centered and using a multi-band to do that. So anyways, it sounds a lot better and a lot more precise when you're doing it this way. So there you go. So that's that sound. So if I put it together with the reload, there you go. So that's that. All right, the next layer here is a transient sweetener. So this is the transient sweetener. The way I create these, maybe I'll make a separate video. Let me know if you guys are interested, but I basically I generate like random sounds from a synthesizer. Like I'll basically hold a note on my keyboard, and then I'll play around with like random like various whatever plugins and stuff that I have, and I'll just mess around and just basically have fun. Like I really don't care what the outcome is, and that's kind of the fun of it. Is you kind of just do whatever, turn whatever knobs, and see what sound you can create and comes out. And then once I have that, then I play around with the pitch, and I play around with a whole bunch of different parameters and stuff like that, and I create these kinds of sounds. So that's how I came up with this one. Anyways, if you guys are interested, let me know in like the comments, because I can make a video showing kind of how I do that and what that kind of looks like. Also, you can check out my TikTok account where I do post some of these videos on there. So anyways, so this is that is the transient sweetener here. And so let's hear without any of the plugins that I have inserted. So as you can hear, it's very clicky with nothing on there. It doesn't really work, or I didn't think it really worked with the rest of them like this. Like it really stands out way too much. It's too bassy and too clicky. So let's see what I did here. So first thing I did was adding neutron, which is just cutting out some of that highs, some of that clickiness. So right away, you can already see it's a lot better than that. So that's what this is doing. Next one here, I added some distortion. So it's here before, after. right? So completely new sound. It's like a completely new character to the sound. Like it doesn't even sound at all like it's the same source, right? So that's what that's doing there. Again, I have recenter here because I want to make sure that the sound is in the center. I don't want it out on the sides of the stereo field. I don't want it in the left or right or feel like it's surrounded. I just really want it in the center. So yes, you could do mono, by the way. Probably some people are probably thinking like, why don't you just put it mono and then you'd be done? Yeah, you could do that. I just like doing this because instead of making it like a mono source, you're still keeping a bit of that stereo width. You're just making it centered, right? So like you still have the stereo width of the sound, but you're keeping it in the center of the stereo field instead of having stereo width on the right hand side or stereo width on the left hand side, right? So that's why I'm doing this. And again, I can control how much stereo width there is with this plugin compared to just having to deal with whatever the file is, right? So I just a lot more control with this. That's why I'm doing this. So let's see, this is after, let's see before, right? So you can really feel like it's on the outside, and after you can really tell it's right in the middle now. That's where I want it. Great, and then let's go on to the next one. So I did a maximizer just to bring up the volume a little bit, and right. So not too much compression going on here. If you're looking here, you can only see 3 dB. Again, this is just to kind of compress the peaks a bit and bring up the volume. And then finally, track spacer here. This is for, it's probably because I have another layer like ducking this signal so it's not too loud. So if I just play by itself, it'd probably be too loud as the gunshot, but with, I think it's the distortion layer here, it's being sent to, it's being sent to the sweetener. So if I play the two together, so if you see now, if I mute everything, nothing's happening. Now when I play the distortion layer here, you'll see it's going to duck the signal of the transient sweetener so that the transient sweetener is not too loud, because I really want the distortion layer to be the main body and the main focus of the sound, right? So this is kind of, like I said, like the name suggests, it's a sweetener. It's just there to kind of add an extra touch to the sound, an extra character to the sound. So I really want the body of the sound, the distortion layer here, to be the main focus. So I'm ducking the transient sweetener from the audio signal of the distortion layer here. So let's have a listen together. So you can see here that the sound, the white line, is really ducking, which means that this transient sweetener, the audio level of this one, is ducking. Right, so that's all I'm doing there. So if you listen, you can actually barely even hear the sweetener anymore. Right, you barely even hear that. It's not even part of the sound anymore. The thing is, it's really blended in, right? So that's what this is doing here. And that's it for this layer here. And then finally, the last layer, let's have a listen to that. And this is the tail layer. So if we go in here, again, I have Weaponizer open. And if you look here at my outputs, I only have the tail soloed. So that means nothing else is playing except for the tail up here, and just one sample file. And it's a tail for, it's from 5 meters away, single shot. Yeah, I think I probably just looked up for a tail sound until I found something I liked. That's it, and I just stuck it in there just to get more sense of depth and bigness, I guess, to the weapon. Because I think I found that if I didn't have that, the shotgun kind of sounded a bit small. Like it just sounds like really distorted and kind of, it doesn't even sound like a gun. But with that in now, suddenly, because you get the sense of the room and the space that you're in, it just adds to more realism. Anyways, you can't hear too much here. This is not the final, again, for this gun here, it's not my final sound. This is kind of the basic layer, the basic kind of outline of the sound. What I ended up doing, if I'm not mistaken, is I added a bit of distortion to this tail, to this sound here, so that it would be more present, and I increased the volume so it'd be more present. And then I also, for the entire gunshot sound, I routed all of them out together into one bus and added distortion to the whole sound together. When I say distortion, I really mean like really light and mild saturation. Nothing that would like make it change the sound too much. It's just to add more density, I guess, to the sound. And that's basically it for this sound. Yeah. Like that. All right. So let's move on to the next one. My next one here is the rocket launcher. And for this one, There's actually two parts to this sound that I created. There's the fire, like whenever you launch the rocket from the launcher, and then there's the explosion when it hits the target. So let's have a listen. All right, so that is the fire sound. We'll start with that because my computer can't take me playing the fire and the explosion sound at the same time at the moment. So, all right, so this is the rocket fire sound that I have. So let's hear what that sounds like. So for this one, this is just a weapon swing sound that I created. So basically me swinging stuff in front of my microphone and pitch shifting it down. I really didn't do much to this one. Actually, I didn't do anything to this one. I added a track spacer again to duck this signal so that it wouldn't be too loud. I'm not sure which one is ducking it right now. It must be a transient somewhere. Probably this one. Anyways, yeah, so one of the signals or one of the layers here is ducking this signal so it's not too loud when the transient hits. So it's really there kind of a whoosh to bring in the sound. Let's hear this layer here. Again, same idea. As this whoosh sound up here, another whoosh. This I probably created with Whoosh by Tunstorm. I think that's how I created this one. Let's hear it without any plugins on. So you can hear it's very clicky, I guess. A lot of transient right at the peak here. So let's see what I added here. So I added Spectre here, which is basically just a saturation plugin, a harmonic saturation. So I just wanted to boost a lot of the lows for this sound. So without it, let's try it without it on. And then with it. So pretty small change, not very noticeable. Next thing I added was Trash by Isotope. So a bit of distortion in here, so let's hear that. So really adding a lot more grit to the sound here. And then again, one more time, I added track spacer again for this hit right here, so that as soon as the main fire sound that I wanted, the main body and fire sound that I wanted for the rocket launcher, as soon as that plays, I wanted to duck out these two sounds. So that's what that is doing here. All right, let's listen to these here now. So basically, this is just a tail of the sound. I think I used it for, is it this one? Yeah, so I used it to kind of elongate this whoosh sound. So if you listen to this whoosh sound, it kind of just ends abruptly. Also, if you look at the video, the way I was lining it up, I was lining it up with the rocket launch sound. So if you look, when the rocket launcher fires, it pulls back and then goes back into place. So I wanted the whoosh sound to have a tail that would match the length of time it would take for the rocket launcher to be pulled back and then go back into place. So that's what this tail is doing here. And if I'm not mistaken, all it is, yeah. So if you can see here, I have audio 01_11. It's the same audio file that I took for for the tail here. It's the exact same sound source as here. All I did is I cut off the beginning here, and then I did a fade in. So what you're hearing at this for this sound is you're just hearing the tail of this whoosh. So you're hearing the tail here, and then I just put it a bit later. So I'm kind of lining them up so that the tail kind of lasts longer. So without these two, let's hear what that sounds like. Right, it just ends, and then with them, right, it just lasts a bit longer. So it's just adding a tail to the sound using that exact same sound source. So that's all this is doing. Again, I think these, yeah. So these are the exact. It's all it is. I copy and pasted this sound file down here, so you have the exact same settings for here, so that it's the exact same sound. For this last tail sound here, though, I added a bit of pitch shifting. I pitched it down a bit so that the tail feels like it's like being done. So it's not just like a whoo. It's actually a whoo. Like it's pitching it down so that it feels like at the end, or it's over, or it's further away, like the whoosh is further away. So that's what I was doing there. Again, really minor detail there. All right, so let's hear this sound here. So this sound is actually a gun sound that I created when I was working on a gun pack that I was working on. Anyways, this is just a draft version of a sound that I had created, and I imported it in here. And then, so let's hear what it sounds like just on its own, like with no plugins. So it sounds pretty good just by itself for like a rocket launcher sound. Let's see if I can like line something up here. I want to line this up. All right, let's hear it. There you go. So this is the sound of the gun just by itself. Sounds okay. Has a really nice long tail, which is great for this kind of rocket sound because the rocket is obviously shooting out. It can be for a long distance depending on where the player is. So this is a great sound for that. So, I mean, I probably could have just put this in here by itself and not add any other plugins, but I added this, which is doing nothing. So I don't even know why that's there. And then here you go. So really the only thing I added was this just to kind of shape the sound a bit. I want a bit more bass out of that, out of this gun sound to make the weapon feel a lot bigger and heavier. Because if not, I think I found it a bit too bright. So anyways, that's what I was doing here. And I think it really helped to kind of add that bassiness and heaviness to the gun that I wanted. So that's what this curve down here is doing. This one is just to bring up a bit more of the detail of the sound of the gun. So that's what I'm doing there. All right, let's hear this layer. So this layer is just, as you can hear, it's a metal layer. Just some metal chain link, clinking. Yeah, so this is actually, I got this from Sonus. This is their Sonus. They have free packs that they put out every year for GDC. Anyways, this is one of the sounds in there from one of the years. Yeah, so I just put it in there because it's metal. And so let's hear what I did to it. So that's the sound by itself. Again, I wanted to make sure that it was centered, so I put that in here. Actually, I put it a little bit to the right. You can see here, I put my angle, and you can see up here with the little green line. So I put it a bit to the right because if you look at the image, the rocket launcher is a little bit to the right side of the screen, right side of the player, and the metal sound is basically just to give the feel of, I mean, the rocket launcher. I just didn't want a fire sound. I wanted something to also represent the metal that the rocket launcher has. So I don't know if this would be like a reload sound, but it's really to have that metal layer in there. And you can see when it's lined up properly, it plays with the movement of the rocket going back and then back forward. So that's what that's doing there. And then here, I just cut out a bit of the highs because probably because it didn't blend properly with the rest of the sound. Maybe it was a bit too bright or too loud. So that's what that's doing there. So together now, that's what that is. All right, let's move on here. So here I have I have a transient sweetener. I didn't do too much to change this one. I just added a gain plugin just to bring down the volume. It's a bit distorted, which is great to add to that grittiness of the rockets launching. I have another sweetener here. This is a metallic. This is just a garbage can that I was like hitting on the ground. So again, adding to that metal, like a metal sound, metal character to the sound, especially at the beginning when the rocket is launching. Again, you probably don't even hear it, but it's just to add those extra like kind of details in the sound. And same thing here. Another metal sound, which is an oven door, and just me opening and closing an oven door. And yeah, so I didn't do too much for these. These are just to put at the transient, just to add to the transient and the punch as soon as the rocket fires. All right, and then finally the last layer here. All right, finally the last layer here. So this is a very kind of sci-fi or futuristic kind of sound, which is interesting that I put it in here because, you know, you wouldn't think it would go into a rocket launcher sound, but I thought it kind of fit. The reason that I like it is because you have that kind of you have the distortion at the transient right at the hit, right when it hits this part, and then also you have a nice tail, so it almost sounds like the sound of the rocket like leaving the launcher, right? So I thought it kind of fit in nicely like that. So anyways, but all together now, everything, let's hear it all together. So that's how I came up with this one. So let's hear a few of these together. So this was my original, I guess, halfway through sound with my whooshes. So if I mute these whooshes here, you just have the impact, the hit. But with the whooshes, you just have this, it's like really small, like in maybe milliseconds, I don't know. But you have this kind of like right before it hits. So it just adds that much more intensity to the sound. And I probably could have done like a bit more and like give it a bit more of a ramp up into the transient here. But anyways, I think it works. It's really minor. It's very, very small detail. And then if you put that with these transient sounds, right? Transient sweeteners. So this is no transient sweeteners. And then with transient sweeteners. So hopefully you can hear like how much of a difference it makes. Like it really adds interest to the beginning of that sound. Like, yeah, you could probably do without not having these, but just having them makes the sound more interesting and sounds better. So anyways, it's just like, it's a small thing, a small detail, but I find it makes a big difference. And then, so that's kind of the body of the sound. And of course, you add this. This last layer here makes it sound a lot more mechanical. A lot more interesting. And there you have it. So that is my rocket launcher sound. Now, of course, for the rocket launcher, there's also an explosion sound. So for when the rocket explodes. So let's have a listen to that. And let's see if it actually lines up with the video here. It does, yes. So that's the sound. And I think just 3 layers here. So let's have a listen to that explosion sound. So there you go. So this is the first layer. This I created, again, just going into Reactor here, loading up a bunch of explosion, gunfire sounds, randomizing everything until I can find something that sounds nice. That's how I came up with this. And then, of course, I added some plugins here. So this is what it sounded like with nothing on when I first started. Let's see what I did. So I brought down the gain. This is just to balance it. I have, Okay, so first thing I did is add, again, recenter here. And this is just to get rid of the stereo width of the sound. So this is without. And with. Let's see if we can hear it better without the gain. Right, so it's I don't know if you can hear it. You probably won't be able to hear it unless you're wearing headphones or like have good speakers, because what it's actually doing, it's pretty minor, but at the same time it's quite drastic. Like I can really hear the sound feels like before I have recenter on, like the sound feels kind of like it's at the right and then it's like moving to the left or something like that. It's a weird, really weird kind of effect. But then as soon as I have this on, it's right in the center. It's just right there. Right? And the whole body of the sound is right there. It just sounds how it's supposed to sound. So this just really helps. All right, the next thing I did was, Spectre, again, just to boost a bit of the bass and the lower mids here. Right, so kind of a really small detail. And then I think I had this on just to bring up the volume a bit. Whoa, I don't think I had that on. That's way too much. Yeah, I don't remember which of these I had on. Anyways, they all sound okay. It just sounds a bit different, but that's the sound for this layer. The next layer, I did something similar. Yeah, just boosting up the bass here. So if we look, I'll take this off. So this is kind of a bass layer, kind of adding that depth and that woomph, I guess, to the sound. And then finally this layer. This is really the distortion layer, right? You can definitely hear it. So the first thing I did is put OTT, the multiband compressor. Again, it's not very much. We're looking at like 7%. So let's have a listen with everything off, and then I'll bring this in. By the way, in case you haven't noticed yet, these 3 files here that make up the sound, they're all the same files. They're the exact same sounds. I'm just processing them differently to get a different effect for each layer. So this would be like the main body layer. This is kind of like the bass layer. And now this is going to be like the gritty distortion layer, or the top layer. All right, so the second thing I did here was add a bit of saturation. So without. All right, so very minor. This, again, if you've seen some of my other videos, I like to boost kind of the mid pretty often. Whenever I have a sound that I think already sounds kind of nice, I like to boost the mid just to bring out the main body of the sound, because this is kind of the sound that the human ear detects the most, like between 100 and like whatever, 10K. So yeah, so it's very minor. It's not very much, just to bring out a bit more detail in that part of the sound. And then I have a distortion here, so let's listen without, and then I'll bring it in. Right, so this is what's really making the sound distorted. It's this plugin right here. So you can see here what I did is I just cut off some of the highs, boosted a bit of the lows, and then I just have a drive going. And finally, recenter again. Again, it's just like the other 2 layers, just to make sure everything's in the center where it should be. Just like it is on the screen, everything's in the center. Right, and now, so let's listen to everything together. That's the sound. So I think I did a few of these explosion sounds. That's one of them. Let me see if I can find another one. No, I don't know that I did another one. Anyways, yeah, so that's the explosion sound for that one. So I think that's everything for the rocket launcher, the fire and the explosion. So let's move on to the next one, which is the grenade launcher. This one's cool. So this one also has a fire sound and an explosion sound. So I created 2 fire sounds, but I ended up going with the second one. So I'll just show the second one here, because I think this one's a bit better. So let's have a listen to this. So not really lining up, and anyways, you kind of get the idea of what the sound is. So this is the fire sound. And yeah, so all it is, this one's going to be pretty quick, because all this is here is a sound that I created, again, in S layer. Like, I really didn't add anything new to this sound. It's just a sound I created in S layer, brought it in, liked it. I added a compressor. So let's see what this is doing. So it's just cutting off, as you can see here, it's cutting off a bit of the peak. And then just so that it's a bit, I guess, more even throughout the whole sound, and that's it. Like that's all this is doing. And then of course recenter. So I'll play it recenter off. So you can hear the sounds a bit everywhere. Like you hear part of the sound on the left speaker and then a bit of the higher clicky stuff, whatever, on the right speaker. And then when I turn it on, right? So unless you have like speakers on or something, or you're listening to like through monitors, like you really can't hear the difference, but it actually makes a big difference. Like you really hear the sound being at the center of this of your like your audio field. It's really before, like without recenter, the sound's really on the sides and everything. Like it's really not balanced from the left and the right. And as soon as I put this on, it's like right in the middle. And for this one, like I didn't even put any. This is like how it comes. I didn't touch any of the settings here. The only thing I did is click multiband, so it does it through multibands instead of just one band, so it's more accurate. But that's about it. So that is the shot, the fire. I also, for the grenade launcher. So if you look at the video really closely, you'll notice that the barrel here, it turns as it's loading in new grenades. So let's see that. Right, so you can see there's new grenades. Like the barrel is turning to add, like, to reload the gun with new grenades. So for that, I wanted to have a little sound. So this is a very small sound. Like I really didn't bring it up to the forefront. It's kind of just there. But again, it adds to the detail of the sound. So let's hear what this is. So let's listen without anything. And the way I did this is just using my like tripod I have for like my phone, and I just like played with it, moved it around till I like basically playing with like click sounds. And all I did with this is I got all those click sounds and I chopped them all up and then brought them all together. So if you look here, this is how I actually built it. So this is what it looked like when I was building it. Right, so you can see here, like there's no inserts or anything. I'm just building out the sound. Like here, you can see that I put in a gain because probably this one is a bit too loud, but that's about it. Like I'm just kind of matching it to the picture, all the clicks and everything, and then that's it. So once I had that, then I exported it, brought it back into my project as one sound file here, so that I could affect it by itself, and yeah, add plugins onto that file. So that's the sound. So first thing I did, you'll see here, pitched everything down quite a bit. So with the video, it doesn't even line up. Let's see here. Yeah, there you go. So if you can see now from the video, just moving along with the barrel as the barrel turns here. So that's what that is. So that's what it's doing here. With M Transformer, let's see what I did here. I did robofication, whatever that is. I think I just played around with some knobs here just to see what I could get, because I actually don't know what this is. I guess it's supposed to make it sound a bit more robotic, which it does. It kind of makes it sound a bit more mechanical or futuristic, something like that. Right, so that helps that layer do that. Next one, boosted and saturated the sound a bit. Again, right in the middle is what I wanted. Like I said before, I like to boost the middle just to get it, just to make the sound a bit more clear. And then I boosted it around 100 to add a bit more bass. Then this is a gain just to balance it out with the rest of the sounds. And I also had another manipulator layer here, so I'm pitching it down a bit to format down. Added a bit of bass harmonics here, just at -1, and a bit of alternator, which I'm not even sure what that does. It adds a bit of, I don't know, movement or something in the sound. But again, you can see here, it's not too much because I put it at 38%, so it's not doing too much. Let's have a listen without it, and then with it. I'll take off the gain so you guys can hear it. Again, so it's very minor. It's just adding a bit more, I don't know, grit or detail. It's a minor thing. It probably doesn't even need to be there. It's just a little details to the sound. So that is what this is doing here. So you have the fire sound, and then with this. Right, so you probably don't hear very much. I probably have to balance it out a bit more, but that's what that is doing there. All right, the next part of this grenade launcher is to have the explosion. This is probably my favorite sound, just because I created so many different layers on this one. It's I really like it. So anyways, let's hear it here. Let's see if it goes to picture. Yeah, let's do this here. Okay. So that's the sound. So as you can see, if you look at the video, you can see it's kind of what I was going for was a sci-fi kind of sound, something sci-fi-y, because when it explodes, like you can see it kind of has like this energy light going out, like exploding, and it's all blue. So it's not like a fire explosion, right? It's not like a grenade. It's really like something different because it's all blue, it's glowing, and then when it explodes, you have this blue kind of lighter energy coming out of it. So I really wanted something like not traditional or not from this world, like really sci-fi. So that's what I wanted to do with this. So that's how I came up with this. So let's break this one down because this one has quite a few layers. All right, so I have my body here. So that is that sound. The way I came up with that, again, S layer, putting in explosion, gunshots, until I got this, and that's what this is. I didn't even touch it. Didn't even add any effects or anything. So that's what this is. Must have added, yeah, so I also added a lot of variations. So you can see here, this is another body layer sound that I had. And I had also this third one. This is the third one that I had. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually doing different variations on it. So if I wanted the first one, I would use the first one. If I wanted the second one, I could use the second one or the third. So I can interchange these sounds basically, and it would give me a new kind of explosion sound. So if you haven't seen my video yet about how I talk about like using variation and randomization in your sound effects, this is kind of what I talk about. And maybe I'll link in the description or put a card or something, but like, so that's what I'm doing here. So when I import this into like FMOD, which is what I'm doing with this project, what FMOD's going to do is it's only going to pick one of these three sounds to play for this layer. So this is my body layer. So it's not going to play all three sounds together. It's just going to pick one of these to play, right? So that I never know which one it's going to be. I can set it. I set it to so that it's random, so that every time it picks one, it's always a new sound. And then I did that for each layer, right? So for my laser layer, it's the exact same thing. Sweetener's exact same thing. So every time it's like picking it and choosing different combinations that create the sound. The explosion sound. That's why this sound is like really kind of complex, but really, it's really, what is it called? Satisfying to hear. So this is my first, like I said, this is my first body layer, right? And then I have this second one that I created the exact same way with S layer. And then I have a third one that I created again with S layer. Right? So again, all of these, no inserts, no nothing, and I'm letting, so I would just pick one of those three to be able to play that explosion sound. So my next layer here is a laser layer. So let's have a listen to that. Right? So this I created using what I call generative sound design. It's basically me like generating a whole bunch of sound and noise and then like manipulating it and creating it into something useful like this sound. If you guys have never seen any video of mine on TikTok, you can check on TikTok because I actually do some like short video clips of me like showing how I do that. Or if you guys like are interested in knowing how I do that or want to see a video about it, just leave a comment down below and I can make a video about it if that interests you guys. So that is the laser sound. Again, all of these I created kind of in a similar way. So you'll see like there's no inserts because these are just how they came out. So that's cool. Same with this one. Cool. So these last two here are make the sound a bit more interesting because I kind of, instead of like putting in like a compressor or a side chain or something so that when the impact of the explosion happens here between here, so you'll see, where's my impacts? right here. So the body, the impacts are right there, right here where my line is, my whatever we call this, I don't even know. Anyways, right there, that's where the explosion happens, the body of the sound that I want people to hear. So I cut out these laser layer manually so that when I'm importing it, I don't have to try to like sidechain it so that it cuts this out. I'm just doing it manually here so that there's space for the explosion to happen. So you have the laser coming in and then I put in the tail. Right? So I just cut it out. And then I faded out this first part here, and then I faded in this second part, and that's basically it. And then same thing here with this one. Exact same process here, just a different sound. And those are my laser layers. All right, so for transient sweeteners, I have a few of these. And these are kind of created the same way that I've talked about earlier in this video. With my generative sound design. Again, I put in, let's see what it sounds like without these here. Right, so a bit high, clicky. I brought the pitch a bit down. Really what's changing the sound is going to be this harmonic thing. It makes it sound kind of bubbly, which is nice because it's kind of this bulb of energy. So instead of being clicky, it's more bubbly, which is, I think, works well with the animation. I can't see it here, but yeah. So that's great. And then, of course, I'm adding recenter again to focus the sound. So if you hear without recenter, it kind of sounds like left and right, really wide. Then I bring it in a lot. It's almost mono, but not. So that's what that is. All right, so let's listen to my next one. Again, so all of these are just really short, kind of clippy clicks that are really bassy and clicky at the same time, right? So they kind of fill out the frequency spectrum for that transient so that that transient sounds really boomy in your face. It just sounds good, right? So that's what these transient sweeteners are doing. And again, I'm not going to go through it over how I created these in this video, but if you want to know, just let me know in the comments and then I can do a video about that. All right. I now have a bass layer. Let's listen to that. And this I created using S layer again. What I did this time though is I have a preset where I import just like a whole bunch of like custom kicks that I've made. So they're just all kicks, and all I do is I like play around and you get these like massive like kick hits or like low kind of rumbles like this, and that's what this is. So I really didn't do much to get there. It's just like randomizing a bunch of parameters in S layer and then playing around until you can find something that works. And that's what that is. All right, finally, the distortion layer. So let's see each one of these one at a time. Again, if I'm not mistaken, like each of these is the exact same thing as this base layer. I just added distortion to it. So you don't see the distortion on this particular instance because what I did is when I'm in Reactor in S layer here, what I like to do sometimes is I'll put my inserts on Reactor. So like you can see here, I already have like trash on Reactor. So then when I'm playing around with sounds, they're already gritty, they're already bassy, they're already distorted the way I want it to sound. And then I just export them into Cubase. So I don't actually have to like reapply anything to the sound, or I don't have to like play a sound. Oh, it sounds like it might sound be playing a sound that sounds like a nice kick sound or something, and then I have to export it, and then I have to put in trash, and then just to find out if it's a good sound that I'm going to be able to use. So instead of like going through that whole process, I just put it right on the bus on Reactor, so that when I'm playing, I can hear exactly what I'm going to get when I export it. So that's what that's what these sounds are here. There you go. So distortion sounds. And that's it for these different layers. So it's kind of a complex sound. I can't really play it inside of Cubase. It doesn't have really the capabilities to show you guys how to like how FMOD would like randomize all these sounds, but maybe I can open FMOD for you guys right now and see if I can like show you guys how complex the sound can end up being. So if I go to my grenade explosion sound here, let's see what I get. By the way, this full explosion sound is actually completely off. It's not even playing. Right, so you never get the exact same sound because inside of each of these layers, so I have my transient layers, transient sweeteners, I have my laser layers, my distortion layers, and my body layers. Each of these, it's always picking out a different layer, and it's combining them with like different layers for each of these, right? So you get infinite, well, not infinite, but you get a lot of variation, and you never know what you're gonna get, but it all sounds similar enough that it matches the picture. It's never like a new sound completely that you're kind of surprised, like, oh, why is that there? You know, they're always kind of matching, which is great. So you always get these cool sounds. So that's how I created this grenade explosion sound. All right, let's go next to the pistol. Let's do this one, yeah. This one's an okay sound. I think I might want to redo it. So anyways, let's have a listen to it. All right, so that is the pistol sound. I don't find it quite as interesting or well done as the other sounds, but we'll go through it. I think I might end up redesigning this one, but for now, let's listen to what I do have. So we'll start with the transient sweetener here. So again, just a whole bunch of transient sweeteners that I have in a folder. I just picked one that I wanted to go with this one. And let's see what I did with it. So again, recenter, I want it right at the middle. So if you heard, it was really way out to the sides. And then with recenter on, it's almost mono. It's like pretty much mono. I ducked down some of the lows here. What is this, around 175? Yeah, so I had a little peak here, so I just brought that down. And then finally track spacer. This is so that the main body of the sound, which is going to be this distortion layer here, this is going to duck the transient so that it's not overly heard, because it just doesn't sound like a pistol sound at all. So it's really there just to be kind of a transient sweetener and not part of the main body of the sound. So that's what this track spacer here is doing. It's just going to duck this sound, the signal of the transient sweetener. All right, the next part here is the barrel of the pistol. So after every shot, you can see that the barrel spins and reloads the new bullet. So that's what this is. And this is the exact same thing as I did with my with the grenade launcher sound. Yeah, so I think this, I put together random clicks and stuff that I had from my tripod for my my phone. I have this little tripod and it can just make these click sounds. So yeah, that's what I did here. Just line them up to go with the picture. Yeah, and it's a bit too clicky. I thought it doesn't really sound like it's coming from a metal like pistol. So what I did, I added here dehumanizer. I think I just pitched everything down. Yeah, so I just pitched stuff down, and I also kept some of the original signal in there to keep that the highs of it. So let's listen to that. So you still get a bit of that clickiness, but it's really a lot less. Right? So it's starting to sound a bit more like it fits with this, little barrel here. Next thing I did, added some Spectre, I guess a bit higher, just to add clarity so that it could pop out. Because if not, I think the main shot of the gun here was too overpowering, so you couldn't really hear it. So that's what this is doing here, is just to bring it out a little bit at 3K. And then my gain is doing nothing. So that's it for that. All right, my distortion layers now. Yeah, so for this one, let's take everything off here. So let's hear it without everything here. So this is the sound I had. Again, this is from S layer, just importing a bunch of explosions. Same thing as I've done for all the other guns. But this is like really bassy, like way too bassy. So this is what I'm doing here. I'm really cutting out a lot of these lows. I probably could have done it a bit lower maybe. Yeah, like that. So like that. That's what that is doing here. Again, recenter. I just want the sound right in the middle, right where the player is. Right, you can see it's a bit on the right, so I could even probably put it a little bit on the right, but it's okay. You kind of want it right in the middle. So that's okay. Like that. And then here, again, just cutting out a bit more of those bassy. That bass rumble. So it's just a bit more of a clean distortion sound. And that is what that is doing there. And I think that's basically it for this sound. I think I wanted to try to fix it with these, but they didn't really do very much. So, whoa. So that's what that sound is. Pretty simple compared to the other ones. Probably could put a bit more time and focus into that one, but I didn't at the moment. So I might go back and fix that up. But that is it for the pistol. And finally, the last gun here that we have is a rifle. I don't even know if I have a video of it. I don't think I have any video footage of the rifle. Yeah, right here. This is the rifle at the end, right? Where'd it go? Right here. So this is the rifle. So let's see how I created that sound. I wonder if I could bring in this. Let's see what I can do here. All right, so that's the rifle sound. Now this is not my final sound, I should say, because I did add a bit of a few more plugins to kind of round out the sound. So I like routed all of these into their own bus, and then into one bus, and then I added some other effects on there. But let's go through it just to get an idea of what I do have as the main body here, as the main sound. So this is the first sound, the first layer here. Where is it here? There we go. So I created this myself. I went for a clean start. So basically what that means is I went for nothing. Nothing was imported. Nothing was done. So what I did is I imported a few things. So here you can see for the onset, this is a bolt close tactical rifle sound. And you also have a brick impact. So if I mute that. So the brick is really a transient. But really what you're hearing is this bolt sound. Right? And then, yeah, so that's it for that sound. Next, you have the body layer here. You kind of get that body of explosion, which is, what is this? A Boeing shot. Not even sure what that is. I just thought it sounded cool. I could put it in there. So together now. And you can see the way I cut off the beginning. It's playing a little bit after the start. So it's really offset to this one. So you hear the onset sounds here first, and then you'll hear a bit of the body sound after. Here, do I have anything for this? Yep, so I have a sub here. Really light. That's really, you can barely hear it. Whoops. And then I had a tail as well. And I really wanted a tail because of the size of the gun. Just to give it more depth and more feel like it's really in a space. So this is what? AKA 25 meters away. Yeah, so this is just, these are recordings that come with a weaponizer that are recorded at 25 meters away. So you get that space. So altogether, that's the sound I came up with, which I thought was a good starting point, but really doesn't do it justice when you look at the video. It really doesn't feel like there's enough going on there. So let's see what else I added. So this is more of a kind of metal impact layer. And what did I do here? I brought it down, so I pitched it down. So again, just I don't know, what was I doing here? Let's listen. So it feels a lot closer for this sound, for this weaponizer sound up here. You really feel like it's in the distance. This one, it suddenly feels, you feel like you're a lot closer to the gun. So there's just more body to the sound and it feels closer. So that's what that's doing there. Let's see here. So this sound was from one of my first sound packs that I ever put out. And it's just a machine gun sound. And let's see what I did here. So I cut off some of the highs, probably because it's too bright. Let's hear. Yeah, it was way too bright for what I wanted. And then, so let's hear all that together now. And then of course I have transient track spacer here, probably to duck the signal from something else that I wanted to hear a bit more. Not sure what that is, but anyways, we'll keep going for now. Here, let's see what this is. Right, so you got a bass thud sound. So a lot more in your face, so let's hear everything together. And for this layer down here, yeah, look at that. I'm just taking out all the highs, so if I take this off, kind of sounds like a punch or something. Anyways, it's really not what you want, or what I wanted, at least for this gun here. So just taking out the highs really gives it kind of a kick sound. And then let's see the other layers. So this is definitely the distortion layer. Really makes it feel a lot more like there's an explosion going on. And again, this is all done within S layer with distortion, probably by trash. And that's, yeah, so that's what's going on here. You can see here I added some space to it. This is a reverb. I'm not going to go too much into this one because I don't even remember what I was doing. I'm probably just trying to give it a bit more space or room. So let's hear without. And then let's hear it with that reverb. Yeah, it just gives it a lot more tail. I think what I was trying to do is I was trying to match the tail from this sound up here, because this sound, my original sound that I was working with, that I was trying to build off of, that tail from that gunshot, it's really high. It's really high pitched, and you don't get any of that mid body of the sound. So that's what I was trying to do with this sound here. I really wanted to have a tail that could match that tail from that first sound. So that's what that is doing. So I'm kind of mixing those two together. All right, and then this last one here, transient sweetener, and nothing else going on. So I'm just placing it in just to add more punch to the sound. And all together now. And like I said before, let me see if I have it, my final version of the sound. I have it, where's my rifle here? Oh, it's loud. Right, so it's quite a bit different, and the reason why it's different is because I added a lot more distortion, as you can see here, and this is just within FMOD. So I added distortion, FMOD's distortion in here, and it just really glues the sound together. So that is, I don't know if that was my final sound, but it's probably close to it. It sounds like it's pretty darn close to it. So that is it for the rifle gunshot. And I think that's everything. These are the 6 weapon, like gun sounds that I worked on, or firearm sounds that I worked on for this game. So yeah, hopefully you guys found that useful or valuable at least, and maybe informative. Yeah, hopefully give you some ideas of what you can do for your sound design. Again, if you guys want to see like how I designed this chainsaw sound, which is pretty cool, and I used like different stuff in FMOD that I could probably show as well. Anyways, you can let me know that in the comments if you guys are interested in that. Yeah, I think that's it for this video. It's a long one. So anyways, thanks for watching. Thanks for making it. If you made it all the way to the end, thanks so much for watching. Yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions or comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.